Hey everyone. Welcome to the Roundtable with Vienna Whyte, Season 1, Episode 59. I'm your host, Millie Rouge, from the band Vienna Whyte here in Edmonton, Canada. This Roundtable is a YEG music production. I want to introduce you to our guests today. Our first guest is David Strickland from Toronto. Our other guest is Josh Garner from Georgia in the USA. And our last guest is Emily Kate as well from Toronto, Ontario as well. So thank you all for being on the show today. I'm stoked to have a conversation with you all today. I want to first start off just by asking how your day is going so far. I know for David and Emily, it's around like the afternoonish time. And Josh, what time is it for you where you are in Georgia?
Right now it's like 1:42.
Okay, so pretty much the same. Okay, cool. So I have to ask, I have an internet friend from Georgia, but I want to hear from your perspective a little bit more about what it's like living in Georgia, because we're all from Canada except for you. So let's hear a little bit more about Georgia.
Well, I lived in Georgia.
Oh, did you?
I used to live in Georgia. I actually
cool.
live in Long Island half the time, but I lived in
there
Georgia
you
for a
go.
while. Georgia's awesome.
Cool.
Live. Oh,
Sorry, you cut out.
Oh, sorry. Where in Georgia did you live?
I was in Atlanta.
Oh, very.
Studio Row is right across the street from Stankonia.
That's
which is
fantastic.
that street has a lot of studios on it. But yeah, Georgia's
That's incredible.
I love Georgia.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I say it's a beautiful state. I live in a town called Macon, Georgia. It's actually about an hour south of Atlanta.
Okay.
Very cool place. Lots of music history. Otis Redding is from here. The Allman Brothers are from here. Little Richard from here. So it's very means of like that rock, soul kind of southern vibe. Lots of cool just music here, and the local music scene here is also very much that same way. Still keeping that whole, songwriting and just feeling of just, I don't know, that soul feeling is alive. So it's pretty cool. I will say the only thing I don't like about Georgia is I'm not one for the heat, and it's already getting real.
Then you should come live in Canada. You'll love it here.
Oh,
yeah. It's never warm.
I used to only leave the house after like 3 when I was in Georgia to go to the studio because it's so hot. He's right. It's hot. But what do you prefer, hot or cold, right?
Yeah.
Tough call.
That's amazing. So yeah, that's amazing to hear. Thanks for sharing about Georgia a little bit. That's really cool to learn that, David, that you're also from Georgia. That you lived there for a short time. So David, do you kind of go between there?
I wouldn't say live there. I was, I shouldn't say live there, but I would spend a lot of time there.
Okay.
Kind of visiting. Drive to New York and then drive to Georgia, stay a long time, go back here and then back. And I would spend, I did that for like about 2 years where I spent a lot of time mostly there.
Yeah.
But you feel like you're living there,
Yeah. When you start to get to know it. Absolutely. Yeah. And Emily, have you kind of lived in Toronto your whole life, or have you kind of ventured across Canada or anywhere else?
Yeah, so I've been in Toronto, born and raised, and I guess the only other place I've lived, I went to school in Waterloo, so about an hour and a bit outside of Toronto. So I lived there for 4.5 years.
Very cool.
Other than traveling, done some traveling in the world, but other than that, just lived in Toronto pretty much my whole life.
I feel that. I've lived in Edmonton my entire life, so I've visited Toronto and other places in the world, but I haven't ventured out yet to those places. So I'm very excited. Well, thank you guys so much for kind of sharing. I actually want to chat now to learn more about you guys, because I actually have never met any of you. I want to learn more about you. So David, can you kind of start us off with your musical journey, kind of where you started and where you're at now with your music career?
That could be a whole episode.
It could be 40 minutes.
Yeah, I started DJing, I guess about 15. And then I started becoming an artist. I was an MC for a while, and then I started to learn how to produce and engineer. And I gave up being an artist probably when I was 20. Went heavy on engineering records. I did a lot of groundbreaking work in Toronto and Canada. I mean, the list is crazy, the amount of songs I engineered. between, you know, the early 90s and up until 2002-ish. And then I was just kind of bouncing around the US for a while, just doing whatever. And then I came home, and then about 2010-ish, and then just did a bunch of Drake albums with those guys. And then after that, I was like, you know, back and forth again. And then I kind of was like, all right, maybe I'll do something. And that's how I got started on the project I'm releasing now. And I just kind of, it was basically, it's a producer's album, and it's Indigenous and Black rappers together, basically. And I'm trying to break down the stereotype of, because a lot of people call it Indigenous hip hop or Native hip hop, and I'm just trying to tell the narrative that it's just hip hop. Here, look, and, you know. So my album's dropping June 29th. So it's kind of ironic because now I'm an artist again. You know, so.
Full circle, yeah. That's incredible.
And I wasn't even trying to do that. So it's a little bit about my journey.
Absolutely. Who are your favorite people that you kind of worked with engineering, if I can ask?
Well, I'm actually dropping a top 10 engineers list soon. Thanks for reminding me.
Perfect.
But, one of the two of my mentors, one is named Gadget, who I guess he would be most famous for mixing, you know, the majority of Drake songs. So anything you've heard of Drake is my mentor, Gadget. And then Tommy Uzo, who's my other mentor, who just passed recently about a month ago. He's, you know, mixed everything from Michael Jackson to EPMD to Red and Meth to Big Pun. I mean, his list is crazy in itself. And both those guys taught me a lot over the years, and I'm just thankful to be able to have that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's an incredible opportunity. That's amazing to hear. Now, thank you for sharing, David. I kind of want to ask you now, Josh, what your experience with music has been like, and kind of what it was like for you growing up, and where you are now with your music career.
For sure. Well, I started out, I mean, I've been singing my whole life, and playing various throughout, you know, within school, just, you know, all the way elementary, middle, and high. But I was about probably 12 or 13 when I started picking up the guitar and started songwriting. And that's kind of, was like, okay, yeah, I want to do this. And so I kind of went from there. And then when I was about 15, getting into high school, I started just trying to find other kids playing music at school and just starting bands and being in as many bands as possible, and, you know, just trying to get incorporated into our local music scene. And so, you know, I started playing, but that was really cool. And through playing, I started getting into music production and how to record the bands I was in and do that thing. And so with that led me to doing internships around our hometown. And thankfully in Macon, one of the cool things is that there's this cool studio called the Capricorn, and it was built for Otis Redding before he passed.
Wow.
And you know, it was closed down for years because, I mean, it was old and nobody had kept it up. And we fortunately with that internship, we got to go in there and, you know, go see it before it was fully done, go use it, go record in it. We even got to record Miss America, Betty Cantrell in there, which is really, really cool. So, you know, it started getting really inspiring just from my own hometown scene to like, oh, you know what, this is possible. I just need to work for it and try to go for it.
Yeah.
And that led me to trying to go to Berklee College of Music, which is where I'm now studying as well.
Oh, awesome.
And that I don't know, that started going from there, and I've just been continuing to be in bands, and I don't know.
Is that studio still there?
Yes, sir, and it is actually fully functioning now.
Oh,
wow, that's so cool. That's awesome.
Dude.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but no, I've been doing Berklee College of Music and being in bands, and I'm actually kind of, I guess, going through a rebrand right now from pop punk and metal, kind of on that side of things, doing more alternative rock. So
okay, very cool. Yeah, I have to ask, what instrument are you do you guys kind of major in an instrument at Berklee College, or is it a little bit different?
So the way it works is you audition on an instrument, and so that will be your primary or your principal instrument is what they call it at school. Okay. And so your first 2 years at school, you have to have like private instruction and all that kind of thing. And so my school is voice, but I've also done guitar at school.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, I went to a university here in Edmonton, and very similar thing. Like, and they all talk about Berklee so highly. They're like, that's the school to go to once you're done here. So it's very cool when I get to talk to people from Berklee. So thank you for sharing, Josh. Emily, I want to hear about your career and how you kind of started with music and where you're at now with your musical journey.
Yeah, so kind of like Josh just said, I I've been singing. Music has been like a huge part of my life. Grew up with it all through my household, always playing. But it wasn't until I guess a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I started taking it a little more seriously. I was actually in school business in university, and I loved it, but I realized that I wanted it to be more of a hobby. Because right in school was a hobby, and I was doing some co-op terms, 9 to 5 jobs, and I really didn't like it that much. So I realized that I wanted to pursue it more. So since then, I started busking first around Waterloo near my school, which is it's tough sometimes, but I think it's a really awesome experience for musicians and artists to get into. So I started doing that and just going to open mics and trying to network and trying to meet as many people within the industry as possible. And I met my producer I'm working with right now. I met him through other that I knew, and it was funny. His studio was actually like 20 minutes away from my school, so it was just super close, super convenient. Yeah. So I've been working with him for about a year and a half, starting to record my own music and everything.
Amazing. Yeah,
so definitely just starting, and it's really exciting. But
yeah, it's always the fun part. What's your genre that you play,
exactly.
Emily? Are you country kind of based, or what's your exact genre by your terms?
Yeah, country based. It's a little bit against the grain. It's more towards country pop.
Okay.
We got a lot of like inspirational soul songs in there. I think taking from what my inspirations were growing up.
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you all for sharing. It's great to hear more insight kind of to where you came from, where you guys are going. So thank you so much. Our topic of today is how to plan out your music career. So I think you all have kind of mentioned some brief things about this already. But my first question for all of you, this is kind of directed at everybody. Why do you think there's an importance to laying down a rough draft to your music career before it starts? Now, I know not everyone follows this path, but maybe why do you think it's important, or maybe why do you think it's not important? Let's start with David, because I know you said you've had like a longer career. I kind of want to hear, why do you think maybe it's important to lay down kind of a foundation before you start jumping into your music career?
It's very important, actually. For myself, it was a little different because I kind of abandoned being an artist. So, but I still was in the business engineering. So being an engineer kept me in the business. And being an artist made it because a lot of times you work with engineers and they're not artists. So, having been an artist, it was easier for me to communicate with artists. That I think helped me become a better engineer. But as far as the question goes, it is important because, that foundation, whether you have success or not, is going to make a difference. A lot of times, and I've seen this happen where people, they have some success and then they don't plan financially, they don't plan in general. And then, next thing you know, 5 years has gone by and you're broke and you're trying to get back to where you were. It's not always a financial thing, but sometimes it's like we say in our culture, sometimes you get off the path of you try to stay on the feather in the middle, but sometimes you get off the path. So you want to kind of keep focused on what you're trying to do. And then, sometimes you do get successful and things, people will come and try to take you away from what you're doing. And focus is key. And that's where the plan comes in. And it's okay to do other stuff, but try to keep that, groundwork. The other thing is having people around you that are involved in helping your career. For example, sometimes you'll have a manager, sometimes you'll have assistant. The manager might have assistants. There's day-to-day people. There's people at labels, and all these people can help you keep the plan going, you know what I mean, as far as scheduling. And it's a very hard, first of all, our craft, your craft, whatever it is you do, being the best at that is a full-time job. Staying up on your chops and being good at what you do is hard enough. Then you got to go and do the other parts, which is the recording and the PR and all that. And then, trying to stay focused. And then a lot of people get lost in the sauce and they go have fun and, You know, so I mean, it's easy to fall off the plan. So I mean,
Yeah.
you know, foundation is everything. Having a group core of people around you who can help you stay on track, and that's not always easy to do because sometimes you don't have money to pay them. So you got to kind of have a good support system of people that believe in you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Those are all really, really great mentions. Absolutely. Joshua, what's kind of your experience with building a foundation? I know you said you like kind of started off, you know, just kind of casually, and now you're more into your college career with music. What do you think is important about starting a foundation like this?
Well, I think it's almost a thing where it's like every time you can have your own personal goal as like, you know, as an artist personally, where do I want to go? Like, am I wanting to be a songwriter? Am I wanting to be a singer and work on people's sessions? Or am I wanting to be a guitar player and be a session? Do I want to be a session player? Things like that. Because there's different, I guess, approaches where you go in the music industry.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, if you want to be in a band, like, write songs, I think it's important for to get a plan as into what are you doing? Like, you know, what really, where's your place in the music industry with the music you're doing and in the genre you're doing? Like, how are you going to break through and make a difference there? And how it's going to be different? So I think in that case, like, you know, it's essential for bands to you know, play as much as you can and write as much as you can, record as much as you can. I mean, right now it has never been easier to record yourself.
Exactly.
I mean, you can space for like $100.
Yeah,
Plug
you
it
can
into
do it on your phone. Come on.
Yeah.
There's literally no reason for any band not to record themselves. And
Yeah.
so, you know, it's just, I think it's that kind of important. And also with social media, you know, you can upload those recordings so easy.
Yeah.
But the more that you go out and you play, the more you spend time together getting that experience, the tighter you're going to get, the more marketable you're going to become, essentially. You know, that is, I mean, that's kind of the key to navigating this right now. And I mean, in the means of like wanting to do session work, it's in a way the same thing. Going and finding people who are doing what you're doing, going and learning from them, trying to take lessons from those people who are successful, in your local scene.
Yeah.
So, you know, that'd be going to a studio and saying, hey, please, will you let me in? Please, please, please.
Yeah.
Even if it's going there like 10 times in a row, just say,
yeah,
I'm begging you, let me intern. You know, and even if it's not to being there for an hour a week.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things where you got to stay persistent. You got to stay just on top of who you are and what you want to do, and just not up on that. And I think that's even more so than, I guess, a plan. That's just the important part, because any plan you have in the music industry needs to be flexible in the first place, because anything can happen.
Yeah.
You know, especially
Absolutely.
especially with what we're going through right now with this pandemic. Like, you know, as musicians, none of us were expecting this.
Nope.
Like
yeah.
had to be cool now and be cool going to a different medium, because all of our gigs get wiped out all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Absolutely.
I think knowing what you want to do and being flexible.
Yeah, that's some great pieces of advice. Actually, yeah, this entire roundtable conversation, this show became of the pandemic, because we had to be like, we were going to do all these shows, we were going to do this recording, and now it's like, oh, well, okay, let's make a show where we can meet more people, and we have the opportunity. Everyone's usually at home right now, so we actually have the opportunity to meet way more people and network without doing that. So you're totally right, Josh. It's about using your resources.
Making the best of a bad situation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. 100%. I was going to ask Emily, but I think she's kind of cutting in and out. So we'll just kind of keep going until she gets back in here. So we'll just keep the ball rolling, if we will. So my next question is about challenges. So what challenges have you guys faced when you're planning out your music that you may not have expected to happen? So just any bumps in the roads and kind of how you kind of dealt with it. Now, David, I know you said you kind of abandoned the whole artist thing eventually, and then you kind of came back. So,
well, I'm doing an album now, so I mean,
yeah. So you found your way back. Yeah.
I've done records. I've been doing records the whole time, but it's like I didn't have to worry about a lot of the things the artist had to do. I kind of just print the mix or whatever, and see you guys, and then hear it on the radio or something, and you know. But
yeah.
So I've had to. I've been lucky I haven't had to deal with that, but now I do. And one of those things has been like, I'm still in sample clearance hell right now. You know, I'm 10 days out and I'm waiting on the numbers to come back so I can make sure it's good, because I have a release scheduled. And that's stressing me out. So sample clearance, I stopped, I don't sample a lot anymore. So that makes a difference. But also, video shooting, sometimes there's bumps there.
Right.
Yeah, it's been pretty smooth for me, but there's all kinds of challenges. Um, getting playlist placements, you gotta have, I mean, if you're independent or if you're with a label, that's gonna make a difference. Getting your music heard, getting people to hear it, even with a label, sometimes, you get slept on. And you could believe in a song and then it takes a while for it to get pop. We're not all like, I'm not Drake. I can't just drop any song and then it's like 800,000 views in 20 minutes. So,
Yeah.
these things become challenges. So you kind of got to have a team, have a good team beside you. And, the team makes a huge difference because you can't do everything. I can't.
No.
I mean, my project, I engineered, I mixed it, I produced it, I DJ'd on it, I performed on it, I did the artwork. I'm like, it keeps going and going and going. I'm like, okay, I can't do everything,
No. Yeah.
Just doing one thing good is hard enough. So I mean,
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, okay, look, guys, I did it all, but I don't want to do it all. So
No.
can I get some help? So
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't think any artist should do everything on their own. And I think a lot of musicians they're not based in that business mindset a lot of the time. So
No, but I was in a situation where I didn't have a choice. Like the first video from the project, I directed the video and edited the video, and I've never directed or edited a video. But I'm like, yo, we need a video, and
you gotta
nobody
do
was
it.
doing anything about it, so I just did it, and that's
Yeah.
just my attitude and my mindset. And I don't let
Absolutely.
nothing stop me. But you're right, I shouldn't have to. So
Yeah.
going forward, hopefully, I've set a good example of what I'm capable of. But
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
problems everywhere.
Totally. Now, Emily, I'm going to jump to you because I lost you last time. What challenges have you faced when you're planning out your music that may have not expected to what kind of road bumps came up that you maybe weren't expecting and how you got through it?
Yeah, so right now, I think this is what you were talking a little bit before, but trying to do everything and knowing when the right time is to bring people onto your team and how to figure out who they are. And also making sure that they are aware of, like, as an artist, I want this to be my specific message. These are my goals, and making sure that they can help you with that. Like currently right now, I'm in the middle of releasing my debut single, and I knew beforehand there was still a lot to do before releasing a song, but I didn't quite know there was this much to do. So I guess the biggest challenge and roadblock for me right now is trying to reach out to people and getting help with like photography, promotions, media. If I want to make a lyric video, I'm not the best at editing. I'm the artist, right? So just trying to get a team behind me that can help me create the vision or help me bring the vision to life.
Yeah, absolutely. And Josh, what are some challenges maybe you faced along in your musical career?
Well, it's obviously when you start out young in a music scene, and there's lots of, especially in a music scene where there's a lot of older, people who've been there for a while. It's kind of hard to say, hey, I can do this too, but I'm only 15, so it's kind of one of those things where you have to be like, I was talking about persistence earlier. It's like, okay, you have to kind of like prove your way when you're younger in an audience that is not younger, because it shows. So I guess that was really the biggest stumble on the first side of things. And gonna be honest, I'm gonna go a little bit deep here on this next one, but the biggest struggle I had for my career so far was finding out about my father's brain cancer. That was a really difficult kind of thing, because when you have a family with a family member with cancer, you kind of go into this bubble of what's going to happen, and can I really fully keep going the way I'm going, because the drop of a pin, like, something can happen. And so that was kind of the next big hurdle of like, okay, so how do I balance this? How can I be here for my dad and also continue to do what I'm doing? Because I mean, one of the big things was, I don't want you to stop, which is
it's just interesting you say that, because my mother died from cancer while I was working on my album, and my stepmother, and like I lost like 20 people in the process of making the album. So trying to keep keep focused during those, like, you don't even care about the record no more, right?
Yeah.
like you're
Yeah.
saying. Like, so that's a big
It's a
one to
huge
do.
hurdle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But it's one of those things where I personally think the best way to approach it is to try to make, I think it's important for artists to make everything around them art in the first place. Like, you can take anything as an idea for a song if you look at it a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
If you take that kind of feeling that you're feeling, like, oftentimes just like for me, it was confusion and some anxiety. It's just like, where do I go from here?
Yeah.
So just taking that and creating from it. And,
Mhm.
just 'cause you'll find that you can find almost a new path for yourself within that. And it's like, okay, wow, I feel a new depth of what I feel like I'm able to do in my songs, because
Yeah.
there is the emotional power that I didn't know
have.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, Josh, and like David said, you both have experienced loss. So now, and I mean, not saying it's a good thing, but it's like you have that advantage now to talk about that and to really open that up for other people. So as much as it, like David said before, making something a negative situation into a positive or like a learning experience, right? So that's really incredible to hear that you've kind of been working through that and growing from that. So that's awesome. Okay, I'm trying to remember if I asked everyone. Yes, okay. So my next question for all of you is, do you think it's better to make a music plan, so kind of a rough draft, by yourself, or do you think it's more useful to really start to involve other people into your planning? I know some people are very like, nope, I need to do it my way, need to figure it out, and some people really rely on the help of others. I myself am that kind of person. So let's start with David. What do you think? I know you've been mentioning teams a lot and how teams are really important. Do you think it's important to build your draft or your foundation with other members as well?
When you're talking teams, I kind of mean like business wise.
Yeah.
Studio, yeah, you kind of need a team too, but a lot of times I've been self-reliant for a long time. I've had assistants, I've had, people I write with or people I pass things along to, and they go back and forth, collaborate, stuff like that. That's okay. I keep that circle small, but sometimes it's hard to depend on people too, especially if there's no money or, money talks, makes a huge difference. If you can pay people, they jump a lot faster. But then you have that gray area where you do pay people and they mess around. So, I mean, stuff like that makes you want to just, for me, where I just depend on myself. Like it's, you can't be mad at somebody for that. If people are busy, they're busy. So I tend to lean on myself because it ends up being a lot, I don't have time to waste and I don't want to waste anybody's time. Right. So being self-sufficient helps, but sometimes you don't have those skills, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of have no choice. So I'm open. Every situation is different. It's never the same. It's like a ceremony. A ceremony is always different. No two ceremonies are the same. No two songs are the same. No two mixes are the same. It's always going to be different. So I try to have a positive outlook as far as what's going to happen. Yeah. And I don't really kind of put myself into boundaries and as far as making the music goes, anything can happen. And sometimes things change at the last minute.
That's a very good point. Josh, what's kind of your opinion on this? Do you think it's better to do it by yourself or with other people?
I think that, it's totally doable to do it by yourself, but I've oftentimes personally found that, like, if I'm really hard on this thing and this idea, that I get so into that idea that, like, you start being wrong. And so, like, that in experience, it's like, it's better to have, I guess, in a team if you can find one. And I guess instead of having a team, having homies, because like, you can find other people doing what you're doing and say, hey, maybe try this there, or instead of trying to go for this show now, build yourself a little bit so, like, there's more people at that show and it makes it a more valuable show to play for you instead of playing to an empty room that's massive, and so, like, and I guess on the note of building and finding homies is, like, making mutual, like, friendships that are beneficial both ways. So like, for example, one of my best friends does photography for just about every project I've done. And shout out to Bennett Sandifer, he's amazing. But whenever he finds other artists, he's like, hey man, I think you guys would work really well together, and so we'll work together. Whenever I work with new artists, I'm like, hey, this is the best photographer you can find, like, go work with him. And so, we've kind of spent time, and luckily we've also been friends for like 10 years now, so we kind of grew up together. But Like it's kind of one of those things where if you find homies that are also trying to do similar things to what you're doing, maybe a photographer instead of a musician, or maybe a video person editing, recording,
Mm-hmm.
find those homies, make a team, I guess, so to say. It's really just, finding friends, because that's really what's important in the music industry too,
Yep.
is friends with everyone,
Yep.
have as many friends as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so find a way to build everyone up at once, because when one person rises in that sense, everyone does too. And so I think that's more the route to go. It's just be friends and see how you can help other people and how they can help you at the same time.
Yeah, that's honestly some really, really great advice. It's really good to be friends with everybody. And it sounds like you've got some really cool friends. So that's great to hear.
Love the people I work with.
Yeah. And that makes it so much more enjoyable, right? Rather than working with people you don't really get along with or you don't jive with. It's important for sure. Now, Emily, I know you're kind of in the process. What it sounds like is you're kind of mostly by yourself for the most part, but you're starting to get more involved with the producer. So what would you say for yourself? Do you think it's more beneficial to do things like this on your own, or do you think having a team makes building your plan and your projects way easier?
I would definitely say I'm more for the team aspect. I think last year I'm still very much like on my own right now. Have a huge team behind me in terms of management, social media, etc. But from what I've been learning, especially with COVID, all the time to focus music and what I need more like vision. I've really noticed that bringing people on, like what Josh said, I like never others very good. He's a software and so he's been helping me with website and with all but I really think feeding off of people around you, whether it's family, friends, people within the institution is very important. And I could also think everyone's a learning. I need help make her successful. And definitely a team aspect. I know, like you see all those top artists, the biggest artists, and if you see like the credits or anything on their album, you mix and list people. Just kind of everyone who helped the album. So I think it's a really good thing to have.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you're cutting out a little bit, but I heard most of what you said, but you were cutting out a little bit.
I was trying to wonder if that was like you good call. You're like, did you?
No, I got bits and pieces here and there for sure. That's just the internet for you. I actually have one last question for everyone, and then we're wrapping up for today. What advice would you give to a new artist who wants to plan out the next 5 years of their brand or their music career? What advice would you give for them to set that really good foundation? David, can you kind of start off with what you think would be the best kind of advice?
That's a trick question. A lot of times when I get questions like that, or like, should I get into the business or stuff like that, I always tell them, no, run away. Or like if one of my kids are like, Dad, I want to do this. And I'm like, nah,
no,
go back to school and be a lawyer. Because, everybody thinks I'm just, it's going to like, okay, you can be an example. But like, for example, myself, I'm like, I always say that, I just got lucky. It's like, if it wasn't for this, I don't know what I'd be doing, but not everybody's going to get as lucky as I got, right? And a lot of people have more skill and won't get as lucky. So it's a tough call, but back to the question, if you're going to really be sincere, like, okay, here's one of the main things I did in the beginning that made a huge difference long term. I always had a job. Okay, when I went to school and when I was in you know, when I first started working in the studio, like a real studio, like full-time or part-time, so I had a job in the day, and then I was in the studio like after work until 2, 3 in the morning. I'd sleep and go to work. And I kept that job until that time when I was able to make the switch. And the switch is where I can do music or music related things full time. So having that foundation, because a lot of times people will be like, oh, I'm the greatest, I'm going to make it. And they feel entitled, and they don't have to go put in that work, and they try to rest on that. And then they get frustrated when things aren't happening at the speed they want.
Yeah.
They run out of money, or, you know, all these things, or they, you know, they're prima donnas. I've seen it happen. And it's like, you got to keep yourself grounded and realistic. And if you get there, that's great. And even if you do get there, you should keep your head on, you know what I'm saying? So, don't have any expectations, that's the biggest thing. You can plan, but don't expect, because that's when you get disappointed. And that's kind of something I'm practicing right now. I have a lot of stuff going on as far as rolling out the album, but I don't have any expectations because I'm used to being disappointed. So I didn't put that on there so that I won't be disappointed. And it's going to be whatever it's going to be. So I just work my hardest. And if it doesn't work out, it's not going to break my heart. I'm just going to keep it moving, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
And
just try to plan as much as you can, but
don't bank on it.
don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
You know? You could end up doing like a whole album, and then you go do a remix with somebody, and then that song blows up, and that's what makes you feel. You never know. Just take what you get and just try to be positive, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Josh? What advice would you give?
Well, to start, I kind of wanted to go off of what you were just saying there, and like, don't keep all of your eggs in one basket. Like, you know, if you think that you're great at singing, awesome, of course, keep singing, but go sing for a bunch of people. Go sing and see if you can see if you have a friend that's doing a soul record and you're a rock singer, go see if you can go sing with them. See what you can learn from them. If above anything else, if you're trying to start doing music and really trying to do this as an artist, you never know everything. Go learn as much as you can from other artists as to what they're doing, because if you can incorporate that to what you're doing, it's only going to make you a better artist. So I think the biggest thing is never stop learning and never be afraid to learn, because one of the things is that in this industry, you're going to fail time and time and time again. And so if you learn and keep learning, and, you know, even if you learn how to fail and make that into a success, you're only going to be doing better for yourself, not just in this industry, but also for your own life. I mean, like, there's a lot in the music industry that you can apply just from experience to your own life. And I think anything, like, also what you're just saying there is expect really what you know you can expect from yourself. Because if you expect more than what you can usually expect from yourself, you will let yourself down. Yeah. Yeah. Do the best you can and try to reach as many people as possible.
I think, what you're saying, Josh, is it causes a lot of burnout in artists and a lot of like resentment towards music when that happens, right? When they have these super high expectations and then, you know, they're kind of crushed. So I think, you both said some really good points there.
Yo, Josh, I got to ask you, what's in that box behind the...
Oh, which one? The one here?
No, the other side. It's in a package.
That one,
Hold up. I'll bring this over.
Yeah, I want to see it.
I'm a collector. I like to collect things. So I see a packaged box that's not open. I'm like, oh, what is it?
Is he a Star Wars fan at all, or am I just the big nerd here?
No.
Okay.
I'm a big nerd. I gotta see it.
This is exciting. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Wow.
So just a giant Lego Yoda.
That is incredible.
So you haven't put it together? You're not going to open it?
Oh, no, I'm going to open it. I'm waiting. The band is called Water Street, and I live in Georgia mainly, but I go back and forth to Boston a ton. Also for the band. And so one of our content ideas, I guess to say, is we're gonna all build this together.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
That's going to be fun.
That's sick.
Yeah, I love unopened. It looked like I used to have them in here. Everything's out of the studio, but it looked like sometimes like it could have been a Yoda pack, like a Yoda action figure or something, and not open, right? Because I have tons of stuff that aren't open. So I put that in the back. I'm like, what is it? I want to know.
I need to know.
It looked like I thought it was a Kiss. You ever seen Kiss, the rock band? Like they have action figures. Like I have a Tony Montana Scarface, and it's not open. And you could
That's
press his
incredible.
stomach, and he says, Tony Montana stuff.
Tony Montana stuff.
So I was eyeing that the whole time, and I wanted to know.
That's awesome. That's very cool.
All right. So I lost Emily again, which is unfortunate. But we are actually at the end of our time. We're out of time today. So that was.
Missed you.
Sorry.
Say sorry, Emily, we missed you.
Yeah. Oh, she's back. Okay, hold on.
Oh, there she is.
Hopefully we can get her back for our exit here. Da-da-da-da. So that was our last question for the day. We are out of time, but we're so lucky to have had you all on today. Thank you for sharing your experience and your guidance. If you guys are at home watching this roundtable with Vienna Whyte on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button so you can be notified about our shows. We post 2 shows daily, Monday to Friday, so there's lots of content to watch. If you want to hear this conversation on Spotify, search up the Vienna Whyte podcast and you will find it there. Now, before we head out, could I get you all to once again say your stage name and where our audience can find you on social media? So, David, can you sign us out first?
Yeah, my name is David Strickland. My social media, I'm only really on Facebook and Instagram. I don't use Twitter very much, but you can find me on Instagram at david.strickland. I've had Instagrams in the past that have killed, so you have to keep the dot in there. Facebook is www.facebook.com/certainman, and that's pretty easy to find me there. I'm usually on all platforms musically, so if you're YouTube, I have a YouTube channel as well. But I'm out there. I'm not hard to find. Google me.
Perfect. Love it. Thank you. Joshua, can you sign yourself out?
Hey, I've been Josh Garner. You can find me on Instagram at Joshing with 2 H's and 2 G's. And for most of my music work, you can find me at Water Street MA. Go check it out. Thank you guys so much for having me, and I'm excited about everything else. It's been great meeting.
Excited to hear you guys' music. Now, Emily, I'm sorry I lost you there, but I think you're back. Hopefully you're back. Can you sign yourself out for the day?
Yeah, I'm Emily Kate. And you can find me on Instagram at EmilyKate_music or YouTube or Facebook at Emily Kate. And thanks for having me today, even though I had some technical difficulties. It was really fun.
Good. Yeah, we got you back in here, so it's all good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much. I hope everyone has a great day. It was great to meet you all. Have an awesome day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.